This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, we now have our finals matchup set up. Alright, no different than the last 3 years. We're getting Cavs Warriors once again. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Alright, we're going to be talking about the little finals preview in the third segment, which is going to pretty much talk about the finals as a daily thing coming up. But nonetheless, like I said, we will spend the third segment. I'll just give my thoughts on it all. First segment, though, we will be talking about the Game 7 matchup that took place on Monday between the Warriors and Rockets. Obviously, got to talk about that. Honestly, watching that game is just, what can you do? All right, honestly, like I'm just watching the game. I'm in shock because the Rockets basically forgot how to play basketball, and it's just once they figured out what they needed to do, it's just there was nothing. They tried, but there was no coming back from it. All right, so we'll be talking about that for the first segment. And then you got Brandon Marshall being signed by the Seahawks. All right, I think the total value for his deal is about $2 million. We're going to talk about that. Talk about if he has anything left still, and talk about what that means for guys like Dez Bryant and all the other receivers that are still left on the market, the older ones. So that's how the show's going to go. And then, as always, for the fourth segment, we will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. All right. So let's talk about the Warriors and Rockets game. Going into the game, I picked the Warriors. If you paid attention to the segment yesterday, we were talking about it. But, I mean, I figured maybe the Rockets would have a slight chance. Like, obviously, the big favorite was the Warriors, and as rightfully so. And I didn't think Chris Paul was going to be playing. Sure enough, he didn't. But I figured, you know what, maybe the Rockets play well still. And they were for the first half, and then it's just that dreaded third quarter. Okay? Warriors put up 33 in the third quarter. The Rockets put up 15, and then it was just a matter of Rockets trying to play catch-up the entire time. It was honestly ridiculous the way that Houston just shot the ball in that third quarter. All right, but anyway, the Warriors won this one 101-92. For the Warriors, you had Draymond Green with 10 points. He had 5 assists, 13 rebounds, shot 5 of 13, 0 of 5 from the three-point line. Kevin Durant had 34 points, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 11 of 21, 5 of 11 from the three-point line. Kevin Looney played 17 minutes. He had 4 points, 5 rebounds, shot 2 of 5. Steph Curry, he had 27 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 1 block, shot 10 of 22, 7 of 15 from the three-point line. Klay Thompson had 19 points, 3 rebounds, shot 8 of 13, 3 of 7 from the three-point line. Finished the game with 4 fouls. Had like 3 fouls early on in the first half, so he missed a lot of time. That's the only reason why he played 31 minutes. And then off the bench, you had Jordan Bell, who had 0 points, but did bring in 2 blocks, a steal, 3 assists, and 5 rebounds in 16 minutes. Sean Livingston played 24 minutes. He had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, shot 2 of 3. And then Nick Young played 17 minutes, only had 1 shot. That was from 3. He hit that and finished the game with 3 points. For the Rockets, you had Trevor Ariza with the goose egg. No points, 0 of 12 from the field, 0 of 9 from the three-point line, obviously. 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Did play well in the defensive end, so I will give him that. PJ Tucker was pretty much making all the hustle plays in this one for the Rockets. He had 14 points, 4 steals, 2 assists, 12 rebounds, shot 5 of 9, 2 of 5 from the three-point line. Clint Capella had 20 points, 2 steals, 9 rebounds, shot 9 of 10. James Harden, I mean, I'm not really sure what happened to him this postseason as far as shooting the 3 ball. Against the Jazz, he wasn't great, and against the Warriors, he was terrible. All right, he finished the game with 32 points, 6 assists, did have 4 steals and a block, 6 rebounds, but did shoot 12 of 29, 2 of 13 from the three-point line. Obviously, that's not great. All right, Eric Gordon had 23 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 9 of 22, 2 of 12 from the three-point line. Also not great there. And then off the bench, you had Gerald Green, who really played. You had Ryan Anderson, who played 8 minutes, but he didn't do much out there. No points or anything like that. Joe Johnson played 5 minutes. I think that all came in the first half. He didn't really do anything. And then Gerald Green played 21 minutes off the bench. He had 3 points, 4 rebounds, shot 1 of 7, 1 of 4 from the three-point line. All right. And then the Rockets from the three-point line shot as a team 15%, 16% basically, 7 of 44 from the field, and then from the field they shot, or 7 of 44 from the three-point line. From the field they shot 40%, as where the Warriors shot nearly 49% from the field, 41% from 3. All right. So I was watching the game, and Rockets come out. They're getting everything done, okay? They're getting the second chance points. They're making the hustle plays. They look like the better team. I wasn't really sure what's been going on with the Warriors in the first half of these last 2 games. Maybe it's just a matter of they know all they got to do is turn it up for the third quarter and they'll be fine. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous where you got the Rockets playing about as well as they can. I mean, you got PJ Tucker, a guy who is pretty much getting every rebound that's near him, okay? And PJ Tucker's not necessarily a big guy or anything like that. He's not tall. Okay, he's no Clint Capella by any means. But he's getting to every ball, okay, making every hustle play on defense, and pretty much the Rockets they look like they were going to win it in the first half, okay? And maybe I shouldn't have jumped the gun a bit as far as thinking they were going to win, given their first half performance, given that they did the exact same thing in game, 6? Yeah, in game 6, and they still blew it in the third quarter, because that's exactly what happened. It was a repeat of game 6. All right. Just this one was a little bit closer. Third quarter comes, and I'm not really sure what happened with the Rockets, but they went on a streak of missing 25 straight threes, I believe it was. Okay. That's obviously a problem, and that's on coaching too right there. You may think, oh, well, Mike D'Antoni wasn't taking the threes. No, he wasn't. But you got to rally your team and pretty much get them to come under the plan of, you know what, let's get to the hoop, let's drive in and draw some fouls, rather than shooting 3 after 3 after 3 after 3, okay? Because you're watching it and nothing's going in at all right? And I'm paying attention to Twitter and all that, and you're just seeing everyone pretty much like, why aren't they driving in? Because you know what, the Rockets really, they gave it up pretty fast, but they were still in it, all right? And it was a bit ridiculous. If you're just watching it, just in shock, okay? Like, they didn't know what else to do, the Rockets. And that's one thing, too, where I've mentioned before about, in this series, the Rockets not having a plan B, okay? Because they did it in this game. When you're going 0-25 from the field in the second half, or not from the field, from 3 in the second half, maybe it's time to try something different, rather than going ISO and trying to shoot 3 after 3. Because it honestly seemed like they were just trying to shoot their way out of it, which was the worst possible thing that they could have did. Okay? And honestly, that's what cost them right there. Okay? They played well in the fourth quarter, but it's just a matter of they couldn't get the stops that they needed, and the Warriors were just playing great. And with James Harden, I mean, the narrative with him, and it is a true one, I think, is that he's not a playoff type performer. Okay? He'll go wild and he'll have his good games and all that, but nonetheless, when it comes to the big time, when the game matters most, he doesn't show up. All right? From game 3, he hasn't really shot the ball well at all. Okay? Sure, you're putting up 32 points, but you're doing it on 29 shots. Okay? It's not great. And if you got James Harden who's not playing well, chances are no one else around him is going to be playing well. This Rockets team really needed James Harden to show up tonight in order for them to have a chance, and it just didn't happen. I mean, when you got Trevor Ariza going 0 of 12, Eric Gordon going 2 of 12 from the three-point line, it's not going to work out. Gerald Green off the bench going 1 of 7 from the field. I mean, they literally look like the Celtics against the Cavs in Game 7. All right? And it might just be a thing of they just don't have the experience, possibly. All right? Because none of these Rockets players have ever played a game like this, I don't think. I would say so. Game 7, 1 game away of making it to the finals. All right. James Harden, I mean, he does have finals experience back in, 2012, I think it was, against the Heat. So, I mean, he's been there before, but even then, so I don't even think he played relatively well in that series. All right. And it's just with James Harden, I mean, you don't want to become kind of like the Toronto Raptors. I mean, he's just a player, but Toronto Raptors year after year look great in the regular season, then you think, oh, maybe they could do something in the playoffs, and it just never happens, okay? James Harden is that player who plays great in the regular season, but come playoff time, come the big time, it doesn't work out. All right. And you could tell watching the game that it was eating up Chris Paul. Him being on the bench, not being able to do anything. I mean, you honestly felt kind of bad. All right, and let me see James Harden's stats. OKC the year that they went to the finals. He averaged 16 points, 43% from the field. I'm wondering if I can find the series. I don't think I'm going to be able to find the series, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, watching Chris Paul on the bench pretty much just looked hopeless. All right. But, I mean, the Warriors were the better team, and they deserve to get past. And it was weird watching that game. You're just watching, and the Warriors are taking over in the third, and it's just like the fans, like there's nothing they could do. There's nothing you could do about it. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of defense you were playing. Hand in the face didn't matter. The Warriors were hitting every shot. All right, and it's just ridiculous how they could turn it on just like that. Okay, the Warriors literally do not need to play hard for certain parts of the game. Maybe, yeah, like I said, the third quarter is the only one where they really seem to try. All right, it's crazy how good this team has become. So now we got them playing Cleveland once again in the finals, 4th straight year in a row. You could tell people weren't too happy about it. People were pretty much hoping for some change, but nonetheless, I mean, what can you do? All right, these are the 2 best teams in the league. One of the best team in the league, and then a team with the best player of all time on their team, I guess you could say. All right. So like I said, I'll give my thoughts on the Warriors and Cavs playing each other for the 4th year in a row, talk about it all, and see what is it good for the NBA and all that, like I said in the 3rd segment. But next up, we're going to be talking about Brandon Marshall going to the Seahawks. Going to give my thoughts on that and talk about Dez Bryant a bit too. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about the Rockets and Warriors Game 7. Obviously, if you watched it, you know that the Warriors won that game and advanced to the finals to face off with Cleveland on Thursday. We're going to be talking about, give my thoughts on them playing each other for the 4th time in a row in the 3rd segment, so stay tuned for that. But nonetheless, I mean, if you're the Rockets, you're probably going to be back next season. Okay, meaning in the Western Conference Finals, unless maybe something crazy happens or whatever. And now I guess it's just time to move to the offseason and put your focus on getting LeBron there. All right? Obviously, they got to make a couple more moves in order to make the money work and all that. Probably got to get rid of a guy like Ryan Anderson. I mean, I'm sure you could end up trading him off to some team that they know is going to be terrible, but they got to eat up some cash. So maybe you find a way to get him somewhere else, maybe like Sacramento used to be that team where you just send your bad contracts over there, but I don't think they'll be doing that. Maybe a team like the Grizzlies or something, possibly. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, James Harden's really got to figure something out as far as the playoffs. He's got to figure out a way to be consistent. All right. show up. That's it. Chris Paul was doing well, and it's just Chris Paul can't really catch a break, I feel. I mean, the guy, I feel like the stuff with the Clippers is a bit overblown as far as him not making out of the second round, because it was always Blake Griffin, I feel like, always got hurt. All right. I never feel like Chris Paul really had his full team. Maybe that series against the Spurs where they ended up giving up, the 3-1 lead, I think it was. All right. And I'm pretty sure Blake was playing in that series too. But nonetheless, I mean, there was a lot of them where, I mean, the Clippers were just injured a whole bunch of times. All right. It just seemed like this series, I mean, Chris Paul really was on it. All right. I mean, he's the reason why they beat the Warriors in Games 4 and Games 5. And in Game 5, you pretty much you strain your hamstring. And after that, I mean, you really ain't got no shot. I think Mike D'Antoni was talking about it yesterday before the game, saying that he was doing everything he could, but there's just no way possible he could play. All right? And that's just one thing where I'm not going to say it's the Warriors catching a break or whatever. Well, I guess they are catching a break, but I'm not going to use it to discredit them or anything like that. All right? So that's all I got to say about that now. But nonetheless, now we got Brandon Marshall going to the Seahawks. Brandon Marshall is 34 years old and on the backside of his career. And I feel like that's correct. I'm not really stating a hot take there or anything like that. All right, so yeah, the Seahawks signed him to a one-year deal, looking like with incentives, it's a maximum value of $2 million. And I'm not sure how, I mean, I guess I like it, this move, because of the fact that it's low risk, high reward, I guess. All right. And you already do got Doug Baldwin there, so you already do have your number one receiver. But, I mean, looking at it, last year he got hurt with the Giants. I mean, he only got to play 5 games. Didn't really do much in those 5 games. 2016, he's with the Jets. 59 catches, 788 yards. I mean, 2015, he's not that far off removed from one of the best seasons of his career, I think we could say. If you're looking at it, yeah. If not the best year of his career. Second best, I'd say that 2012 year in Chicago where he caught 818 passes, 1,500 yards, and 11 touchdowns. But this year, I mean, or 2015, the year I'm talking about, he caught 109 balls, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns there. So, I mean, who knows? All right. But nonetheless, I mean, he is a few years removed from that year. Going to be his 3rd year since 2015. And like I said, it's just one of those moves where if you're Seattle, I mean, what do you have to lose? Okay, they're able to spend that money. You're not overpaying or anything like that. And let's say that Brandon Marshall turns out to be a really good player for the Seahawks. You could probably lock him up for a couple more years. All right. But, I mean, normally we don't really see these deals really work out for receivers, just given their age and injuries and all that. All right. Brandon Marshall, I mean, I'm sure he's still got talent, but it's just the point of how much talent does he got left and how much of it can he just really utilize. Okay. And we see it with guys like Chad Johnson, okay? When he left the Bengals, he never really had a spot. After that, he was done. He went to the Patriots. That didn't work out. Then he went to Miami. Obviously, that didn't work out. Got cut in training camp because of some outside issues. And was he with anyone else after that? I don't think so. He went to Canada for a bit. All right. So, yeah, with these aging receivers, I mean, it's just one where maybe they're trying to hang on, but there's really nothing for them to hold on to. And I mean, Seattle, like I said, I'm kind of curious to see what Seattle's going to look like this season. All right. They got rid of a lot of guys on the defense, a lot of the louder guys out there. So, I mean, it's obviously a culture change type of thing. But it's just a point with, did they do enough to replace those guys? And, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, let's say Rashad Penny doesn't work out. Who's going to be your running back? All right. I'm sure they're still trying to work out on the tight end. Seattle is a very, very incomplete team, I think. But the fact of the matter is they do have a top 5 quarterback and I'd say top 5 coach in the league right now. Wouldn't you? I mean, obviously I'd go Belichick. I like Doug Peterson. Tomlin. And we might just have to go through it. All right. But yeah, I mean, you do have the 2 most important things: a good head coach and a great quarterback. And like I said, I mean, I'd say Pete Carroll would be the best coach, second best coach in the NFC East. Like I said, I'd take Peterson over him. In the NFC North, I'll take Carroll over Zimmer, I think. Yeah, I think I'd do that. NFC South, I'll take Sean Payton. So I guess that's 2 coaches I've already named. NFC West, I'm not taking any coach over him right now. AFC East, Belichick, so that's third coach there. AFC North, Tomlin, that's 4 coaches. South, I don't know, would I take Harbaugh over Pete Carroll? I think I might. I mean, John Harbaugh doesn't really have much to work with there, just given that Joe Flacco isn't the best quarterback or anything like that. I don't know, it's kind of like a push right there. AFC South, yeah, I like Carroll over anyone in the AFC South right now. In the AFC West, I would take him over everyone there. All right. Would I? I think I would. Yeah. So, yeah, Pete Carroll's basically a top 5 coach, maybe 6, depending on who you got ahead of him. All right. So, I mean, they do have 2 of the most important building pieces there, Seattle, the head coach and the top quarterback. All right. And, I mean, Brandon Marshall, it's not like he forgot how to play receiver and all that. It's just a matter of him needing to stay healthy, but it's also a matter of a scheme fit. All right. Is he going to work out there? We saw Jimmy Graham going from New Orleans to Seattle. Obviously, Jimmy Graham wasn't like terribly bad or anything like that, but he wasn't the same Jimmy Graham that he was over in New Orleans. All right, I think last year Jimmy Graham had 10 touchdowns. I think it was. Let me double check that. Yeah, he had 10 touchdowns. I mean, he never really eclipsed 1,000 yards. And did he even do that with New Orleans? I believe he did. Yeah, so he clipped 1,000 yards twice with New Orleans in 2011, 2013, but did come pretty close in 2012. All right, and 2014, he was only 100 yards shy. 2015 is his first year with the Seahawks. He only catches 48 passes, which was the lowest since his rookie year. 605 yards, which was the lowest since his rookie year. Did bring in, only 2 touchdowns, which was the lowest of his career. 2016, he catches 65 passes, also pretty low compared to his time in Seattle or in New Orleans. 923 yards, which wasn't bad, 6 touchdowns, and then this past year, 57 receptions, 520 yards, which was his lowest since his rookie year, and then 10 touchdowns. So, I mean, Jimmy Graham wasn't really consistent across the board with the Seahawks, and I'm thinking maybe that's how Brandon Marshall's going to be, given that Marshall's last good year was in 2015. 2016 doesn't do much. 2017, he gets a season-ending injury. And it's just a point where, like I said, usually you see receivers like this old, pretty much broken down a bit, and they never really just seem to work out. All right. So like I said, Bo, he got a year plus $2 million as a maximum. He's got to get all the incentives on it to get that full $2 million. And you look over at a guy like Dez Bryant. Okay, Marshall's 34 years old. Dez Bryant's still 29. I'd say that Dez Bryant's a guy that you'd probably kick the tires on instead of a Brandon Marshall. Okay. And Dez Bryant has had his fair share of injuries so far in his career, but I do still think that he has something left in him. It's just a matter of he needs the right team. All right, I saw that he left an Instagram comment, I believe it was, saying that he would like to play for the 49ers. Later deleted that. And I've been pretty much beating that drum all offseason long, trying to get Dez Bryant to the 49ers, okay? San Francisco does have a squad that will look good in the future. I don't necessarily think they're going to be making playoffs or anything like that this year, just given that, I mean, you went 6-10 last year to take quite the jump from going 6 wins to at least 10 wins, I think, in order to make the playoffs in the NFC. Plus, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's never really played a full season. I do think that he's going to be a good quarterback, but now coaches are going to have tape on him and all that, and it's going to be more time to game plan for him, so it's going to be a little bit of a difference, all right? But they are missing a number 1 receiver. Marquise Goodwin isn't that. He's never been that, and neither has Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon's always been a number 2 guy. All right, Trent Taylor was a rookie last year, played well, and they did draft Dante Pettis this year. But I don't think Dante Pettis necessarily will be a decent number 1 receiver for any team in the NFL. All right. And I do think that Dez Bryant is the way to go. Okay, Dez Bryant, I think if you add Dez Bryant to the 49ers, then that adds a couple of wins to their resume, I think, for me. Okay, I do think that Dez Bryant on the right team can affect the wins and losses aspect of it, but it's just a matter of he needs the right quarterback and he needs the right offense. I do think that San Francisco is that perfect fit for him. All right. Green Bay was a team that has been brought up. I don't really think that's going to happen, where you got Rodgers saying it makes no sense to cut Jordy Nelson and bring in Dez Bryant. And it kind of does. I feel like we all overrate, well, not myself, but in general, people overrate Jordy Nelson a bit. I mean, Jordy Nelson at one point was a great receiver, but I just think he's too old now, and I don't think he has it anymore. All right, just given the last couple of seasons. But nonetheless, I mean, I think Dez Bryant, if he were to end up with Green Bay, which, like I said, I don't think is going to happen, it'd be kind of like Jimmy Graham going to Seattle. All right, it's not going to be a good fit, and it's just, it just wouldn't work out, I think. Okay. Plus, I mean, you already got Jimmy Graham, Devontae Adams, Rondo Cobb out there. There's not enough targets to go around in order to make Dez Bryant look good. I honestly think that Dez Bryant going to the Packers would probably shorten his career rather than him going to the 49ers, which would make it a bit longer. Okay. Dez Bryant isn't some old dude like Brandon Marshall. Okay. No disrespect to Brandon Marshall. Dez Bryant still got about 5 more years before he hits 34. Okay. So he's still got time. It's just a matter of, like I said, he needs the right fit, and he's got to get pretty much the right quarterback. And that's San Francisco for me. I think Tennessee would be a solid team for them, team for him, but I do think that Tennessee really likes Corey Davis, so I don't really see it happening there. And it's just a point of maybe Dez Bryant will get signed once someone gets injured in training camp. Okay, obviously you never want to see it, but that's always the case. Someone's always getting hurt there. All right. And as far as how much Dez Bryant's going to make, I mean, Brandon Marshall came off of a season-ending injury at 34. I think that's why he's got $2 million. I mean, I think that's Dez Bryant, now that you're kind of putting it into his perspective, he's probably about a 5-7 year, $1 million receiver, okay, as far as a 1-year deal, I think. So we'll see what ends up happening with him, but Brandon Marshall now on a team. Not sure how it's going to work out in Seattle. I mean, the guy's old and he's injured all the time, so we'll see what ends up happening. And as far as Dez Bryant, I mean, I think San Francisco is the best spot for him, but it's just a matter of if San Francisco wants him there. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals, give my thoughts on the Cavs and Warriors playing each other for the 4th year in a row. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked about Brandon Marshall going to the Seahawks, talked about Dez Bryant a bit in that segment, and we also talked about Game 7 between the Rockets and Warriors. All right, now we're going to be talking about this Cavs-Warriors finals, okay? I mean, it is what it is here, okay? We got the best player in the world going up against the best team in the world. All right, and it's all just a point of, I guess, you're enjoying it because you're a Cavs Warriors fan. You're enjoying it because, I mean, I guess you could say these are the two best teams left. All right, I think it's fair to say that no matter how well Boston played, Cleveland was the better squad at the end of the day, as far as just not on paper, but just getting the job done. And then I think we could all say, even with on paper, that the Warriors were better than the Rockets, okay? Toronto fans, I mean, that team wasn't good enough. Indiana wasn't good enough. No one in the West was good enough. I mean, it's just a point where these are the two best teams out here, okay? As much as we wanted to see Rockets Cavs, or maybe some wanted to see Rockets Celtics or whatever, just something different, maybe you're going to have to wait till next year. And I do think next year could possibly be a year where we do see something different, because I do think that LeBron is going to end up leaving Cleveland. All right, so we'll probably see maybe the Celtics or Sixers in the finals next year. If LeBron goes to Philly, then we probably will see the Sixers. And then as far as the West, I mean, and again, I talked about it yesterday, I believe, briefly, but I don't understand the East is weaker than the West, or the East stinks compared to the West. I mean, in the West, it's only two teams. It's only been one team the last 4 years, just as it's only been one team in the East the last 4 years. Are you going to tell me that the Warriors have really had to work? This is the first postseason where they actually had to do something before they got to the finals. All right. I don't understand it. But people are always going to push their narratives, I guess. All right, so like I said, we got this again for the 4th year in a row. I mean, consensus around as far as fans around the league and all that go, seems that no one's too thrilled. Okay, and I mean, if you look at it, I understand why. The Cavs don't come close to the Warriors as a team. All right, and I mean, I'm saying this knowing that LeBron very well could do some otherworldly stuff and just simply dominate and get the Cavs to win in 7 games, which would honestly be one of the greatest things I've ever seen if that somehow did happen. All right. But it's a point where, I mean, maybe you're tired of it, and this is the 4th year, right? Is this Cavs team, better than the team that won 2 games against the Warriors the first time that they played, where you had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love hurt in that series? Okay. Let me see if I could somehow pull up that roster for that final series. Let's see, what was that, 4 years ago? It's about 2014. That was the team with Delly. All right, Shumpert was there still. Let me see. Guys like Anderson Varejao. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty at all. All right. But then let's see right here. If I could pull it up. Let me see. So I think I got it right here. They had Varejao, Dellavedova, Joe Harris was on that team, but I don't think he's really played. Sean Marion, Mike Miller, Timothy Mozgov, Shumpert, JR, Tristan Thompson, and Dion Waiters. All right. That does not sound like a very great team by any means. All right. And they got 2 wins. Okay, they won 2 games in that finals, which was a bit ridiculous, okay? They lost game 1 in OT, won game 2 in OT, won game 3. Cavs were up 2-1 in that series at one point. It's a bit surprising, okay? And I mean, comparing the 2 teams, I don't know which team is better. Okay. Instead of your starting point guard being Matt Dellavedova, it's George Hill. Would you say that's an upgrade? I'd say so. Okay. And you got guys like Mike Miller, J.R. Smith still there. Let's see. I'll take Jordan Clarkson over Mike Miller, I guess. Mike Miller barely even played that season. His usage rate was very low. I'd say that given if you're taking out Love and Irving from that team in 2014, 2015, and like you're going to have Love for this series too, most likely. So I'd say that this team is I'd say this team is better compared to the team in 2014, 2015, but it's just, let's not forget that the Warriors got better too. All right. Let's not forget that the Warriors added Kevin Durant. All right. And let me see if I can find that Warriors roster from that same series also. That'll give us a little bit more, because obviously you don't have Harrison Barnes there or anything like that. And I think that this is going to be the last installment, all right, of this little rivalry. And I'm not sure really, like, I'm not going to go out and say that this is one of the best rivalries in sports, because honestly, I don't think it is, all right. So that Warriors team had Leandro Barbosa, Harrison Barnes, Bogut, Ezeli, Justin Holiday, Iguodala still there, David Lee, Sean Livingston still there, Brandon Rush, Mo Spates, and Clay. So obviously you're not there. You don't have Barbosa anymore. You don't have Barnes, no Bogut, no Ezeli, no Holiday, no Lee, no Rush, no Spates. So there's 8 players from that team still gone. That's gone. All right, it's basically just Steph, Draymond, Iggy, Livingston, and Clay. So there's only 5 players from that team still there. Now you got KD. Okay, you got David West, and a bunch of other solid players. I'd say that this Warriors team is better than that 2014-2015 team also. All right. But now it's just the point of, are the Warriors, like, do the Cavs have a chance, I guess? Okay. And, I mean, looking at it, do you see the Cavs winning games 1 or games 2 in Oracle? I don't. That'd be tough. All right. If they were to be able to pull that off, then, I mean, I don't see it. They could win 1 in Cleveland. Could they win 2? That'd be tough to beat the Warriors back-to-back. All right, there's not many teams who could do it. The Rockets did with CP3, and then after that, it was over. All right. I mean, realistically, I guess the safer pick would be Warriors in 5. I kind of want to go Warriors in 4. All right, just given that, I mean, you're going to have your starting 5 for the Warriors of most likely, if he's, actually, I don't know about Andrew Iguodala. He might just come off the bench. So maybe a Jordan Bell, Steph Curry, Clay, KD, Draymond, and Jordan Bell, I guess, would be a starting 5. But Bell has been coming off the bench there. All right. And let me see what the Warriors have been going with so far in the Eastern or Western Conference Finals. All right. The Warriors went with for Game 7. Oh, yeah, Looney. Excuse me, not Bell, Looney. So that's probably going to be their same starting 5. And one thing that you could tell with the Warriors that their weakness is rebounding. All right. The Cavs need to out hustle and give more effort than the Warriors on the boards. Okay. If they do that, then that's going to be one thing that helps keep them in the game. Okay. And I mean, the Cavs, they have a chance. Okay. It's not like it's going to be tough. I'll tell you that much. All right. And if LeBron were to somehow pull this off where the Cavs end up winning this series, this would be his greatest accomplishment ever in his career. Okay, that might be what puts him over with everyone else as far as being the consensus greatest player of all time. Okay? Because people are still holding on to Jordan, and it's really just, now it seems to come down to just Jordan and LeBron as the top 2 all time. Sometimes you'll see a Kobe fan throw his name out there for fun or whatever, but nonetheless, yeah, the consensus usually is now it's between Jordan and LeBron. Okay. And LeBron's finals record is always something that people like to use against him. I'm not really one of those type of people, but nonetheless, if they do beat the Warriors, then, I mean, he's got to be the best of all time, doesn't he? Because in order for the Cavs to beat the Warriors, it would take probably LeBron to average a triple-double in this series. And not just one where it's like 30, 10, and 10, something out of this world. Okay. So we'll see what ends up happening. But, I mean, me personally for this series, I'm not tired of seeing it. I mean, I'm not really the kind who, like, it doesn't really bother me who's playing who in the finals. Because, I mean, if your team makes it out the East, you're the best team in the East. Okay. If you're a team that makes it out the West, you're the best team in the West. So, obviously, for me, I'm just thinking, you know what, these are the 2 best teams that the NBA has to offer right now. And I'd rather see these 2 go up against each other rather than anyone else. Okay. Given that they made it this far. They deserve to be here. All right. But, I mean, we very well could have had Rockets-Cavs. And Rockets-Cavs, I mean, that could have went the Cavs way easily. Okay, the Cavs could beat the Rockets. Rockets would still be the favorites, but nonetheless, the Cavs would have a better shot. I could see that going 7 if it needed to. Okay? But it's just like, I don't know. It's going to be tough. Okay, you're going to have George Hill on Steph Curry, JR on Clay. That's not really going to work out too well, I don't think. LeBron on KD. I think, yeah, finally we might have to see LeBron guard the best player on the opposition. Be Kevin Love with Draymond, and then I guess Looney going up with Tristan Thompson. That's a matchup that the Cavs could win right there as far as the rebounding and all that, and being more physical inside the paint. We'll see. I think Tristan Thompson, I think he could have a decent series. All right, Ty Lue pretty much just decided not to play him in the first 2 against Boston. He did well, and I think against the Warriors he could do well. All right, and like I said, the Warriors' biggest weakness is their rebounding. We saw that so far this series, in this series against the Rockets. All right, but it is just a matter of I guess just out hustling your opposition. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm gonna go. I'll save my pick. I'll wait on that. Probably give it up tomorrow or maybe even on Thursday, the day before the game. So we'll wrap up the segment here. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. We got the Celtics and Rockets, who are currently out of the playoffs now. Maybe we'll talk a bit about them, and like I said, talk about anything else going on. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Cavs, Rockets Game 7, recap to that. I mean, the Rockets just completely fell asleep in the third quarter. Couldn't buy a bucket. Segment 2, we talked Brandon Marshall going to the Seahawks. Also talked about Des Bryant a bit. And then the third segment talked a bit about the Cavs and Warriors facing off in the finals for the fourth time in a row. Alright. Seems like people are getting tired of it. I'm not sure really what the ratings are going to look like for this series, okay, given that, I mean, just look like the consensus was that no one really wanted this to happen again, okay? They wanted something different. Obviously, you're not getting something different, okay? So I guess now we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. I mean, there are ways, if you look into it, to get excited for this series. I mean, it's just the run that LeBron has been on so far in this postseason has just been absolutely ridiculous. Okay, it really has been. I mean, eventually you just got to stop going against the guy and just pick him to win one, right? And I think I've gone against them twice so far in the playoffs. All right, I picked them to win that Indiana series. I picked Toronto to beat them, and I picked Boston to beat them. Maybe it's time that I pick him to beat the Warriors, okay? Which I'm not going to do. But nonetheless, I'm just saying, maybe it's one of those things, okay? And, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, last year where you had Kevin... Did they have Kevin Love last year? I don't think they did have Kevin Love last year. I think it was just Kyrie and LeBron. Or was last year the year that Kelly Olynyk ripped Kevin Love's arm out of its socket? I'd have to double check. But either way, I mean, it's most likely that they are getting Kevin Love back for this series. So you'd probably have your starting five of George Hill, JR, LeBron, Kevin Love, and Tristan Thompson. But that lineup of Hill, Smith, LeBron, Green, and Thompson did work out pretty well. And I think that's a lineup that you might have to explore going with if you're Ty Lue. Okay, I understand that Kevin Love is your starting four and all that, but there's a point where, I mean, when I found out that he wasn't going to be playing Game 7 against Boston, I thought that helped Cleveland. Okay? I really did think it did. I think Kevin Love has probably been one of Cleveland's worst players as far as the amount of minutes that he's getting, as far as productivity and all that. All right, so we'll see what ends up happening. We'll probably get into the series a little bit more as we go on through the segment, but nonetheless, I mean, yesterday, of course, the NHL had Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. And, of course, we're going to put Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final up against Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. I mean, why not? I don't understand the NHL and their scheduling. Okay, they've done this before with their All-Star game where you had their All-Star weekend the same weekend as the Pro Bowl. All right, and it never gets really marketed or anything like that. You never hear about NHL events. They do a terrible job as far as marketing their game. But nonetheless, like I said, we did have Game 1, and it was a shootout. All right, them trading goals 1-1-1 the entire time. Vegas ends up winning, though, 6-4. Okay, and I mean, the Capitals played pretty well. That game could have went to either team, but it's just a matter of Vegas just did enough. Okay? And I think we had Game 2 coming on Wednesday, I believe. Might even be Thursday. I'd have to double check it. But nonetheless, I mean, if you're the Capitals, you wouldn't be too worried or anything. It's just Game 1. Obviously, Game 2 is going to be up there for the taking. And I don't think you do. I don't think you do want to go to Washington down 2-0 though, because it's not like Vegas is one of those teams where they just barely got in or whatever. Like, Vegas is a very good team. Vegas was the number 1 team in their division, okay? And Vegas did win their Western Conference Final matchup in 5 games. All right. So, I mean, if you're Washington, I think I'm not going to go out and say Game 2 is a must-win, but it's one where there's going to be some nerves if you end up losing it, I feel. Okay? So, like I said, Vegas ended up winning Game 1 6-4. I mean, it was just completely back and forth. I believe we got the French Open going on this week. All right, May 27th to June 10th. Let's see, we had Serena Williams winning today. I believe Maria Sharapova ended up winning today also. Let's see, I think Sharapova won in 3 sets. Yeah, she won in 3 sets. Serena Williams in 2. Let's see what's going on over here in the men's side of it. You got Martin Cilic winning in 3 sets. Rafael Nadal winning in 3 sets. All right. John Isner winning in 3 sets also there. I'm sure Serena Williams is probably going to end up winning this tournament. Serena Williams honestly probably could win some of the men's tournaments just given that she's one of the most dominant tennis players of all time. But nonetheless, that's all I got to say about that, really. Let's see what else is going on right now. Let's talk about the Celtics and Rockets a bit, okay? Because they both seem to really be the same team. Not in this postseason, but more so in this conference finals round, okay? No one really thought either team was going to win their series. Talking about the Celtics and Rockets before the series started. I saw a lot of Cavs in 5 predictions. I saw a lot of Warriors in 5 predictions. I was one of those Warriors in 5 predictions. Okay. And I think that the biggest problem with these two teams was the lack of experience in the big game. I mean, with the Rockets, obviously, you got a lot of vets there. You got guys, and I'm not sure how much I buy into the whole experience thing because you did have a Trevor Ariza who won a title with LA. Okay, you have a James Harden who's been to the finals before. PJ Tucker's played in big games before also. And like I said, with James Harden, it's just a matter of he froze, I guess. All right. And it's just looking forward to next year. I mean, Boston's going to be adding Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. And with the Rockets, it's just a matter of, are you going to be able to add LeBron, and are you going to add something else? And I think that it probably would be wise to try and add more to this team, okay? As good as they still aren't good enough to beat the Warriors, but I guess we can't say that, just given the fact that we didn't have Chris Paul for the last 2 games, and the Rockets did look pretty good for the first half of both games, okay? So I still would say that the Rockets need to add more talent, just given that there's not much, like you can't face off with the Warriors, lose, and just expect, you know what, we get Chris Paul back, we'll be fine next year, okay? I do think that first things first, they do need to get rid of that Ryan Anderson contract. I'm not really sure where you do that at. Maybe you send him to Atlanta, maybe you send him to Memphis, maybe a team like, no, they still got Dirk. Maybe the Magic would eat up some of his money. But, I mean, he's already been there, done that. Let's see. Am I missing anyone else? I already mentioned the Hawks. The Kings don't seem like a team that are in the position to do that. Just granted that they're trying to rebuild now and actually trying to be a decent team. Maybe Brooklyn could eat up that contract. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where they could ship him off to. All right, but that is one thing I think they are going to have to do in order to try and get a run at LeBron. And if the Rockets were to add a guy like LeBron, I mean, that's a team that could be the Warriors, I feel. Okay? James Harden is fine playing off the ball. Chris Paul could play off the ball, and LeBron James could play off the ball. You'd have one of those guys at all times on the court. Even if you wanted, you could have both of them, or two out of the 3 on the court at all times. I mean, that's a team that I think could work out well. It's similar to the Cavs team, just granted you got better players in Houston. I mean, you could trot out a lineup of Paul, Harden, LeBron, Ariza, and Capella. But I'm not sure. If you sign LeBron, are you able to bring back Clint Capella? I don't think that'd be financially possible, just given that you got to give Chris Paul some money too. And let's see. This is Clint Capella's final year of his deal, right? I believe it is. It is not. Actually, I don't think they picked up his option, so I think it is. All right. Yeah, he's going to be a restricted free agent. Excuse me. He's going to be a restricted free agent this offseason. So, I mean, the Rockets pretty much have any opportunity they can to match any deal that he gets. I mean, yeah, it's going to be tough, okay? They're going to have to figure out what's going on with LeBron before they even look at Capello, I feel, right? Yeah, I think so. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Rockets look next season. I mean, Capello is only 24 years old, so he's still very young. He gets compared to Steven Adams a lot. And let me see what Steven Adams is currently getting. All right. And I mean, Capello might be one of those players where you do need a couple of guys like Chris Paul and James Harden in order to make you look good out there. All right. Yeah, so Steven Adams is 24 also. But he just got his new deal when he turned 23. So it's about the same thing. Let me look at Clint Capela's career stats and get a little basis of it all. All right. And Clint Capela, I think he's not a top 5 center in the league, but he is top 10. And I'm not sure how much that's saying, just given the fact that the center position hasn't necessarily been something great over the years. It's something that's starting to get better, but nonetheless, it's not like great or anything like that. So let's see. Pull up their stats real quick. Steven Adams has been in the league since 2013, excuse me. Capela's been in the league since 2014. So Capela came to the league a year after. Steven Adams came the year before. Let's see. Adams over his career has averaged 8 points, nearly 7 rebounds. Last 2 years, which were probably his best years, 2016 averaged 11 points. Let me see, 7 rebounds. This past year, he averaged nearly 14 points, 9 rebounds. Capela this past year averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds, nearly 11. And in 2016, he averaged nearly 13 points and 8 rebounds. So that's a little bit better than Steven Adams. So Steven Adams' contract is currently 4 years, $100 million. I'd say that'd be pretty fair for a guy like Clint Capela right there to get something like that. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But like I said, I mean, the Rockets are going to have to pretty much see what they want to do as far as matching a Capela deal, but also trying to see what they can do with LeBron. So we'll wait and see how it all ends up. Obviously, we still got to wait for the finals to end in order to get into offseason mode. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Today we talked Warriors-Rockets Game 7. Brandon Marshall going to Seattle. Talked a bit about the Cavs and Warriors facing off for the 4th time in a row in the finals. And then for this segment, talked about a bunch of different topics going on in sports. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will talk to you tomorrow, so stay tuned, and we will see you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.